Today, what I'd like to discuss briefly, and I know we have a short time, so I'll try and skim over this topic. It's quite big, and it does dovetail with what Renee was talking about, which is the safety culture and how we enhance our culture and develop that in a more proactive way. The Hearts and Minds program is not a new one with Shell. Shell had some universities develop this back in 2002. So from Leiden, Aberdeen, and Manchester, they provided key inputs on reviewing safety in industry and developing the Hearts and Minds program. Hearts, from the heart that we do safety because it's our belief system, and that's our motivation to get home safely every day. And in the minds, we're developing the right processes, the right programs, taking advantage of technology, working together to learn from previous incidents and prevent them in the future to keep everybody safe. So that's the program. It's set up with a bunch of key, easy-to-use workshops, and we'll get into that in a bit. But what I want to talk about at this point is the culture ladder. So, as Renee had mentioned, you progress on a ladder for your safety culture. And this really depends on where you are. You can be moving up and down on this ladder depending on situations and circumstances, but hopefully we're all continuously improving and getting a bit better tomorrow than we were today. So if you look at the ladder here, we start at the bottom of the rung with pathological. So we do safety because, who cares about safety as long as we don't get caught? We're doing that to be efficient, and our motivation is just to get the job done. Then you can progress up there to a reactive. Safety is important. We do a lot of safety every time there's an accident or an incident. So at that time, we roll up our sleeve and practice safety. Then you get to a calculative. We have systems in place that help protect us for safety. We use those systems and we develop them in a calculative way, so we're being a bit more methodical. Then getting to more of a proactive level. So safety leadership and values are key, and they're really driving the business and bringing safety to the forefront. And then to a generative level. Safety is how we do business here. We're doing the right thing. We're doing that, and it's just part of our concept and how we do things. So that's the ladder, and you can see through that each employee, each staff member would be increasingly informed about safety, about the biggest risks that they face day to day in their job. And then also with that, you develop a lot more trust. So there's trust, interaction. You can stop and pause the job at any time for safety, so you can step back, take a few minutes, do your LMRA. If the job is, there are too many risks for inclement weather or that sort of thing, that the team are empowered to take a break and step back for their own safety. So that's the cultural ladder. And, as we talked about that, we're looking to see how does the systems that we have now, how does our own organization weigh this out? So I'd like to say, we have all kinds of programs. POST is a really good one because it's blending behavior-based safety with a lot of the nuts and bolts safety items, such as CORE or ISO. You can develop functional systems, safety manuals, and all of that, but it's breathing them to life and getting the behavior-based safety together. So we have to marry the risks and the risk management in your safety system with the people and the actions. So I'm happy to see we're going to do a little bit of a review on intervention today. I think that's a key personal proactive intervention that we need to be empowered to say, hey, are we doing everything safely? Have we done things like our job safety analysis? Do we know, are we aware of what are the risks for that job? And have we put the right controls in place to mitigate those risks? So, and are we empowered to intervene? With Shell, we look to see that the retailer and the retail associate is an advocate for safety for the contractors working there. there's a startup meeting that they have. Well, they fill out a permit and they review that with the safety lead. Each site has a site safety lead, Shell associate, and they want to engage there and say, oh, you're going up on the roof today to do some work on the HVAC machine? All right, well, we'll keep an eye out for you that you're not up there for 3, 4, 5 hours and nobody knows what's happening. So they're to be an advocate for safety. So it's the people and the actions. Then the personal responsibility. We all want to go home safely at the end of the day. We take responsibility for our actions. We need to be doing the right thing when no one is looking. So that's a bit more on the cultural side too, that we understand what are the risks. We're prepared to do the job day in, day out. You know, we manage things like distraction at work. We look at fatigue and risk. You know, I would advocate that people look at something like the Safe Start system, where you have your eyes and your mind on task. You know what, when you're going to be in the line of fire of an energy source, and when you can really look at the job tasks, break them down into the key elements where, you know, you may be at risk. What are the biggest risks for you on the day, and have you put the right controls in place to mitigate those? And then individual consequences. You know, this should be a balance of, you know, if there's something that is incorrect or there's a better practice, there should be a review. In the post form, there's a review, a last-minute risk assessment review, where someone can coach you about the right behavior or the right technique to do that job, the better way to do it. So that's one. Also, just and fair discipline. I think, you know, when we do something incorrectly, discipline is an opportunity to correct that behavior and get everyone back on the right footing, and that should be done as well to give the contractor an opportunity to correct things and to move on with a learning. Usually it's a learning or a different risk level or tolerance that person might have versus someone else who's had more experience and has undergone an issue or a circumstance related to that. So these are about bringing the nuts and bolts things, the what I would call the theoretical safety items that would be in a safety manual, and getting them into bite-sized chunks that we can engage and get people to action. So taken another way, if we look at performance over time, you know, and this is just a different representation of what Renee had echoed earlier. You're seeing incidence rates at the start, at the top left of the graph, where they're high. You know, we have to develop things like technology and standards. We have to look at our best ways of doing it. You know, maybe legislation that's involved. Then, you know, as we get more engaged with our own systems and learning about past incidents, we have a robust health and safety management system that gets put in place over time. And then there are other things on behavior-based safety, like doing your planned job observation or other tools that you can see listed here to improve the culture. So that's the intent of the Hearts and Minds program, is to really evolve your safety culture and looking at it from these concepts over time. So what does the change process look like? You know, if you start in the bottom left corner, you know, ignorance or not awareness of the safety issues, then we progress to getting more awareness, preparation and making plans. So we plan the job for the job elements that we have. What's the environment? What's the workplace? Some of them are unique. You know, if we're fixing equipment, it may be in a different location. We do job surveys before we do the job for more complex tax and construction activity. We're reviewing as-built drawings. We're looking at you know, who's involved, who are the players, have they all got their post-training as a baseline? What are their skills and licenses if you're bringing in, say, a crane operator, for example? So the preparation and making the right plans beforehand are key and critical. And then take action and do it once you've reviewed all of those things in a checklist or another format. And then then there's a loop on maintenance, keep it alive. So what did we learn from that past job? Was it robust? Okay, we want to repeat that. Were there any gaps or errors, and how do we want to tackle them in the next time we do a job? So improve on it. So it's a continuous improvement loop. So what to use and when? So this one here, are you ready for change? Well, I think we are all knowing that change is one of the most constant things that we have to deal with. So understanding your culture, we've done this in the past by taking surveys or asking, doing interviews about it. The A and the B part on this chart, so realize that you have problems from incidents and audits. So this is your past events and learnings. Then select the right tools to fix that problem. So we're always driving for the root cause analysis. What was the root cause of that event? What is the learning from that event? And then find believers and people willing to try to put in the corrective actions and measures. On the other side, discover you still have a ways to go. So really do some navel gazing, look at your own system and your own safety culture, and see, what can you do to improve? What few things do you do today that will help you for tomorrow? The Hearts and Minds program has some different toolboxes that we'll talk about, and how you can try and do that. So here it is here. So understanding the culture, I won't read them all, but I'll just go into one or two. An engagement tool to identify your local strengths and weaknesses, and as a help in defining the ways to improve. When would you use it? Used at the beginning to engage the people to discover their aspirations in building a strong safety change. This is roughly a 2-hour workshop. It can be dovetailed to smaller. Seeing yourself as others see you is the next one on the green side. Making change last. Risk assessment matrix. So Shell have developed a RAM, or a risk assessment model, where they've looked at different scenarios and work activities and where the risks would be, the likelihood and the consequences of them occurring. So that's a tool that can be used in designing safe work practices. Achieving situation awareness. It's really the rule of 3. And they use the traffic light, red, amber, and green. If there are 3 or more cautionary items, then they treat that as a red too. So they look at the scenario. It could be the environment. It could be that someone is fatigued. It could be they don't have all of the right trained personnel for the job. If there were 3 conditions that were not right as to the plan, then they would use that as a red and stop and stand down from the job to reassess it and get the right people in play. So, and if it's a red, if there's something that's just a non-starter, they wouldn't start that job. So that's a review tactic there. There are other ones here: managing rule breaking, so consequence management, the right application to improve behavior. Improving supervision in our frontline leadership. We always need to look at situations and scenarios. In the intervention one, I think it's a really good opportunity to see that in a bit more depth. Working safely, learning from incidents, and driving for excellence. So those are the different modules that they have. I think there are 18 in all. Working safely, from seeing to doing. So this chart, I wanted to talk to you about this. We have a sense of what's going on. So can you see it? Are you aware of the issue? In knowing it, do you know how bad it is? Do you know what the situation is? Are we certain? Planning, do you know what to do about that issue? And then acting, can you do it? So this is a framework for from seeing and doing. Look, speak, and listen. So this is about engaging the folks on the job site and maintaining and keep on doing it. So this is kind of a way to do that continuous improvement loop from working safely, seeing to doing. So it's just some way to look at your safety program for building the culture. Now, how that can be applied, this one here, from seeing to doing, you have do people in the operation see, feel, and understand what's happening? And then what do I know to be a good, strong safety leader? So have we given the right tools to the foreman or the supervisor about that, or the frontline leader? And then, are there positive and negative attributes in that? So this is, walk through the workplace. So you need to actually manage by walking around, going and seeing. This is inspect what you expect. So go and see the job, make sure it's there, and all of the things that you had planned on paper are actually rolling out and being done correctly. And then if you have any gaps, take notes about those gaps and then review them as a team. So that's the main thing. My closing message for this, and I did kind of water ski as opposed to deep sea dive on this topic. The hazards and unsafe behaviors that we see and we don't challenge, these and change today, they become accepted practices and behavior. So nobody said anything, it must be okay. That becomes a complacency. About 90% of accidents and injuries are behavior-based. So it's about choices that we make, and these behaviors need to be actively managed. And when I say manage, I mean internally by the individual as well as by the company and the foreman. So typically on a post form for a routine or a regular maintenance permit, there are a list of people that can sign it. So it shouldn't be just the lead person, the one with the best penmanship writing the permit. Should be the whole team signing that permit, that they've reviewed the job steps, that they understand the mitigations that they're going to put in place, and they put those controls in place and they all agree to it. So that's my closing message about the safety culture. So this is also available. The Hearts and Minds information is available. I think I went too far. On energyinstitute.org, Hearts and Minds. So you can have a look at that, and after the session, if you want to speak with me about it a bit more, I'd be glad to address any questions. So thank you.